hoped the story would go, because I always felt like the story had so many layers.
Man, when you're on these Mocap stages, man, sometimes there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, you know? The fact that Bruce was there just made it so much more easy. And
we held hands a lot.
Yeah.
Your mission, Agent Locke, is over. Mine is just beginning.
You're watching convention coverage.
Welcome back, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you.
Steve, just saw you back in January. Welcome back.
I know, it seems like only yesterday, but
Nice.
I've been to this convention more than any convention ever. SacAnime is just a great show, and mainly because it's a great group of people that come here, so I'm always happy to come back.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
I should say real quick, we're sorry that Jen is not joining us. Jen Taylor, the voice of Cortana, she tested positive for like literally before she's getting on the plane. She's fine, but is not able to attend, and she sends her regrets. And hopefully we'll get it out here real soon. So.
No, I hope so. That'd be great. Get all you back here and add Jen to the mix would be fantastic. Bruce, Nick, how are you guys doing? Bruce?
Man, beautiful, beautiful. It's great to be here. First time I'm sitting in front of a Halo crowd. So
Yeah.
first time I've been able to be beside these guys.
The pilot.
Yeah, it feels awesome, man, and I got a lot of respect for both of these guys, and thank God I was able to meet Steve on location when I was with Bruce all the time, guys. So I did all the motion capture and the voice, of course, for the pilot. But Bruce was my man on set, and he was on my 1 yard line the whole time. And thank God Steve chose to fly out and hang out with us for a number of days because
Well, the first time we met was at the hotel bar in Seattle when we were recording.
How unusual.
That's right.
Yeah, very unusual circumstance.
Yeah.
And I remember some of it. And
I remember Bruce telling me the first time, like, Steve's down at the bar, man. You got to go meet him. And then I realized Steve's at the bar every night. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. This is a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm here. Who was at my panel the other day? Yesterday. Well, just yesterday. Yeah. Hi. Welcome back. Yeah, working with these guys on stage. And, well, I didn't really work with you, actually. No.
I watched you work.
Yeah, he did. He came up and watched us work on stage one time. It was wonderful to perform for this man because he is a gem. Actually, they both are. They're full of empathy and compassion and wonderful human beings. I'm so proud to be part of the crew here.
Thanks, Bruce.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Hi, my question's for Steve.
Yes.
When they brought you in and told you, hey, we want you to do a Master Chief, did you know that there was going to be kids outside GameStop for hours on end just to pick this game up? And what has it done for your life just knowing that?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that I knew that, but I had no clue. So much so that about a year after Combat Evolved had come out, I was visiting some friends in Florida who had kids who were playing the game, and I had completely forgotten about the experience, 100%, to the extent that I couldn't even remember the character's name I played. So, which is not unusual, I think, when you're doing voiceover, that you move from one job to the next, and you're focused on what's coming, not what you've already done. And I was completely unaware of the success of the game because I wasn't a gamer. And the kids were playing the game, and I was walking through the living room, and I said, I think I voiced a character in that game. And they said, who? And I said, I can't remember his name, but I think he was, the main guy. And they said, Master Chief. And I said, yeah, it was Master Chief. So 15, 20 minutes later, there's 30 to 40 kids outside this guy's door with a copy of the game or an Xbox or something, wanting me to sign it. And that was the beginning of a long, strange, wonderful trip. So, but no, I had no clue. And not only did I not have a clue, Bungie didn't have a clue either. There was no plans to make a Halo 2. That's how they weren't really even thinking in that direction. They were hoping. When we talked to Marty the other day, what did he say? Marty O'Donnell, who was one of the original Bungie guys, who was the musical director and cast all the voices, said that they were hoping that sell, 100,000 games or something.
Yeah, they were hoping and praying. Yeah, that was the goal.
So yeah, and one of the head honchos at Bungie had a sort of a rule against sequels. He just like, I'm never doing a sequel. We're going to do one game, then we're going to do another game. Well, I'm not going back and revisiting a game. Well, Microsoft had another idea.
Yeah.
After the success of not only Combat Evolved, but of Xbox in general. And they said, we'd like you to revisit that sequel thing and then hence Halo 2. And then that was supposed to be the end of it. Obviously that was all 20 years ago and we're still rolling, so.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. Sure. Awesome.
Thank you.
My question is, Halo 3 was my favorite because Master Chief and the Orbiter came together to take on the enemy, right? My question is, do you think in the opening scene of Halo Infinite, like we see Master Chief getting destroyed, and I didn't want to watch it, okay? It was horrible. And I think what if in the future game, do you think that Master Chief will need to ally like the Orbiter again to take on Aatrox?
Well, I hope so, because I love Keith David's work, and it'd be a gas if he was part of it again, right?
Yeah, so
I wonder what, because I did not see you do the motion capture for that scene, which was, you're right, in the beginning of Halo Infinite, I don't know if you're keeping up with current events, but the Chief was getting his ass kicked in a major way. And the physicality of that particular, if you recall.
I didn't do that part. I don't know the stunt
guy?
The stunt person, I think, did that part. Yeah. I didn't do that physical.
You were too precious to do.
I'm precious.
They couldn't risk breaking a bone there. So.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much, man.
My question is, out of all the Halo scenes from all the games, which is one of your guys' favorite?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. It's the very long scene in Infinite between the pilot and Master Chief, where the pilot breaks down and Master Chief is there to console him and build him up,
Uncomfortably.
Yeah. That was a powerful scene. There's a lot of memories of us shooting that, and it took a long time. That scene was from start to finish. There were no cuts. Wow. We shot that all the way through, all those emotional levels and all the blocking and everything in one go. And I remember being a little intimidated at first because I asked, are we going to cut at a certain point and then do the other part? And they're like, no, we're going to go the whole way, like front to back, beginning to end. And I was like, oh, man. So we had a long day of figuring out the blocking and then, of course, the emotional levels. And it was a heck of an experience for me. It was my first big motion capture job. So that was.
How was he, by the way, emotionally? Man, this guy brought it.
Yeah, it turned out really well.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I just got chills.
And one of the reasons why we have to do it from A to Z like that is because it would be too expensive to cut things together if we had to stop and start and cut and paste. Yeah. It's just too expensive for the animators. So we do it much like a play. Like Nick said, we rehearse it from A to Z. It takes as long as we need to, especially for a scene like that that's so important. So we rehearse it, we get the blocking right, we get the emotion, we start to dig into the emotional levels, why they're there, where they are emotionally, and man, it's just a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
To be honest, very rewarding. My favorite scene probably would be from Halo 4, as you might guess, where Cortana just starts to break down and has to tell me that we're no longer going to be together. Yeah. And I'm getting a little verklempt about it right now. But thanks.
Mazel tov.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that. That wasn't awkward at all. Quite lovely. The actress that played Cortana on the motion capture stage was Mackenzie Mason. Jen wasn't doing it at that point. And Mackenzie, I just have to say that name because she deserves that. She brought it too and really moved me during that performance.
And not coincidentally, that's my favorite scene as well, because it was, Halo 4 was building I remember when I first got the script for Halo 4, and my first thought was, this is where I always hoped the story would go, because I always felt like the story had so many layers, and the surface hadn't even been scratched after Reach, and there was so much more to go. And when I saw what they were going to do with Halo 4, it was like, okay, now we're going to dig a little deeper into the relationship and the complexity of the relationship between Master Chief and Cortana. But that scene that Bruce talks about, for me as well, to do it, as a voice actor, and I had the rare opportunity, and to date the only opportunity, to actually work with Jen the way Bruce did, in the flesh, in the studio at the time. And that was a challenge and a rewarding experience to be able to work. I mean, she's a great actor, and it was probably the only way I could have gotten to that point, is to have her in the room with me. So, yeah, that was a pretty cool scene.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
So my question is for all of you. Which Halo game gave you the biggest challenge to act in? Which scene? Was it a different experience for a certain scene or something? What was the biggest challenge that you had for a certain game?
I think Infinite, because for one reason, we had huge gaps in recording because of, we were just getting our feet wet when hit, and then everything shut down for months on end, and how everything had to be retooled. And then we were the voice actors. We couldn't go to the studio anymore, so most of have some sort of studio at home, but it's usually just bare bones. Mine certainly was, in a closet, like a little tiny phone booth, and bifold doors, and nobody could use the toilet while I was recording. Stuff like that. Don't cut the grass now. So to sort of reignite the flame at that point was a challenge, and to be able to do it successfully in not being able to see my director. I mean, sometimes we would Zoom it, and but that's not the same as being there in the flesh. And so that, I think, for me, was probably the biggest challenge.
Here we go. Yeah. For me, it was probably in Halo 4. Getting to know the character of Chief. He's so stoic and so withheld, and so his emotional range is so small. I talked about this yesterday. Just this is the emotional range goes from here to here, and that's his full expressive expression. And so when I got to work with Mark Ralston, who played Del Rio, he's such a powerful stage actor and performer. Period. He's just full of juice, and he just brought it, just screaming. I mean, I had saliva on my face when I was done with that scene. And just to backtrack here, for those that don't know, I don't, as the motion capture actor, I don't just do the movements. I do the full performance. I do the vocal performance, which then Steve beautifully lays in afterwards. It's the only way I can do it to get the realness of any scene. But so, my point is, when doing a scene like that where somebody's really getting in your grill and giving it to you, I wanted to give it back. I wanted to get involved in the scene. I wanted to get emotionally, and everybody's pulling me way back. No, Chief is in a little tiny box. He doesn't do much. But all of that expression has to take place right in there. And that was the hardest challenge for me to grasp, is that's who the character is.
There were two for me that were pretty tough in Infinite. Of course, Infinite's the only game I've been in. So I did a small part in Halo 4, actually, a tiny little part. But there was a part where the pilot's been captured, and he's kind of strung up and being beaten. And I remember I had to be like I was standing on blocks because he was suspended in the air, and my arms are kind of outstretched like this. And there was a whole scene kind of playing before it even got to me that I had to sit there and listen to while I'm staying in this position on these blocks in the air. And then finally when the camera moves over to me, I have to start writhing in pain and screaming and all this stuff, And so every time we would do Like take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5. When we set up for it, all this other dialogue's happening. I'm standing there like this on these blocks with my arms outstretched, and you don't realize like how your triceps, your shoulders, everything's like all jacked up. And that was like for hours that day. I was like maybe 2 hours straight, 3 hours of doing that. That was one thing. And then the other...
That's why these are such guns.
Rock hard. Rock hard.
The Halo workout.
Yeah, the Halo workout.
The one that was like emotionally kind of tough was there's a moment where Chief introduces the pilot to Cortana, who's actually not, but and there's this whole reaction that the pilot has that they had written where he's freaked out, and I didn't know how to. I wasn't grasping it in the beginning. I wasn't believable, I should say. I didn't feel I was being believable and true.
You are believable.
Thank you. It ended up working out that way in the end, thank God, but I did a lot of takes because I just felt like he was overreacting, and it was a little strange. It was coming across strange to me that why he'd be so freaked out, and then we finally got it. But I had to do a lot of work on my own in that scene, just kind of figuring that out and believing myself, you know.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What is your favorite multiplayer armor in Halo? Like,
Well, actually, my favorite is Chief's Armor in Infinite. I think it's the best combination of the old and the new. So it's my favorite. My favorite Mjolnir. That could be a show.
My favorite Milner?
Yeah.
Sounds like a 1950s show.
Yeah, Martian, Mjolnir, or whatever. But that's my favorite.
I'm going to defer to Bruce on this one.
I defer to Nick on this one. I don't study the.
I'm glad Steve had an answer, though, man.
I'm glad he did. We'll go with that.
Yeah, go with that.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is, for all three of you, in your opinion, what is your favorite touching trailer before the game gets released?
Well, my favorite, it's funny because I have had 2 requests today to use a quote from the Halo 5 trailer, which I've never been asked to do. And both of them sort of modified it because they wanted it to be, instead of Agent Locke, they wanted it to be their friend, whatever. And I hope I can remember the quote, but if you recall, they shot it 2 different ways. One where the Chief ends up killing Locke, and then they shot the exact same scene again, except the ending is Locke kills the Chief. And in the version where the Chief wins, you know, the quote is, "Your mission, Agent Locke, is over. Mine is just beginning."
Right.
And the other reason I like that trailer is because it actually ran in the movie theaters, and my secret desire as a voice actor all my life has been to be Don LaFontaine, who was the great voiceover trailer guy. In a world. He was that guy. He basically invented the genre. And I always wanted to be Don LaFontaine. So the one and only time I ever heard my voice in a movie theater was in that trailer. So that's my favorite.
I'll go with that too. I mean, I don't really pay attention too much to trailers. I'm sorry. You?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it had to be Discover Hope, that trailer. And, you know, it was an impactful trailer. It was obviously my introduction, you know.
Yeah.
And then the whole, you know, we lost everything. There's nothing left for us here. I don't even know where here is. You know, it was impactful, you know. Thank you.
What a great way it was to introduce your character. I mean, you know, that was such a great, you know, you got to know him immediately.
That's exactly who he is.
Yeah, to think that he could actually, you know, essentially bring Chief back to life.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was incredible writing. You know, I loved that trailer. It was just so well done, and you know, for me to kind of be thrust into that universe, starting with that trailer, was just like, holy crap, man! I can't believe this is happening. Here I am with Master Chief. You know what I mean? Holy crap! It was amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was gonna say, and then of course, you know, I'm doing my part or whatever on the Mocap stage when we did that. But then after to hear when Steve's voice is laid on top of that thing, you're just like, you get chill bumps everywhere, man. So.
Thank you.
How's the industry changed since you got into voice acting and since you started Halo?
Exponentially, to put it mildly. I mean, just from a with each new game that came out, the leap, from a visual standpoint was just astounding, and what they could do, what was usually about every 4 years. And it was just, it used to blow me away. I mean, I think like the next one's going to be like a hologram, and
Yeah.
the chief is going to be right out there in 3 dimensions. I mean, it's just incredible what can be done, and the incredible work that the people at 343 put into. I mean, that's the thing, we sort of get to enjoy, the fruits of meeting you guys and all of that. But all these guys behind the scenes, and there are hundreds of them, and the complexities of creating a game like Halo, I can't even fathom it. And I remember the first time I walked into 343 and sort of got a tour of the building, and it's floor upon floor upon floor of people working their ass off to create this game. And it's amazing.
Thank you all.
So I have one. It's like, of all the Halo games, which ones were your favorite to play, act, and just overall?
Well, mine was certainly 4 and Infinite, and 4 for the reasons I've sort of alluded to. Jen Taylor and I got to work together in the same room at the same time. So just from a acting standpoint, that was, and we had only met a few months before that, because so the first 10 years of Halo, Jen and I never spoke, laid eyes on each other, nothing. So to have to bring that together and to do the work that was being done with Halo 4 from that standpoint is always one of my favorite memories. And then Infinite, just from an overall, I just think the whole game, everything about it, was the fulfillment of some very hard work by a lot of people that came together. I personally think in a really wonderful way, and I had a lot of fun. It's the first time I've ever done a Halo game where when it was all done and I listened to watch the cutscenes, that I didn't go, that could have been better. Oh, I should have done that. For me, I mean, just a self-criticism thing. I thought, rightly or wrongly, I was like, okay, that's as good as I can get it. So, hopefully it worked, and the success of the game speaks for itself. But so those would be my 2.
I agree. Those 4 and Infinite were my favorites, only because Halo 5, I think I only did about 6 motion capture days on the whole game. Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of Chief in that from a campaign standpoint. And so 4, as I mentioned before, the emotional work that was involved in that, and getting to know who I was going to be playing him was incredible, and great memories. And then Infinite, like Steve says, I mean, the whole, this new dev team at 343, when they started putting together Halo Infinite, they really wanted to get back to the roots of why you guys all love Halo. And I think they did an amazing job of bringing a lot of different aspects back together to tell the story. And it was a wonderful thing to be part of, a nice, beautiful arc.
Yeah.
I hadn't played any console games since high school, so this is the first one. They actually, gave us a copy of Infinite, and I went out and bought a Xbox, the previous version, whatever that was from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Went out and just bought one, and then this was kind of a weird thing that happened. Like, it was just accident, but I tweeted it, like, man, holy crap! I just went and got my first console in however many years. I'm excited. And then a bunch of people started chiming in and saying, like, what? They didn't give you an Xbox? You're the pilot and they didn't give you an Xbox?
Hell no.
And next thing you know, man, like, an Xbox showed up at my doorstep, one of the brand new ones, the Halo edition. And I was like, oh my God.
So that's how you got it.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Why didn't I think of that?
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Better start using Twitter, Bruce.
I actually was like, what I said in the tweet was like, thank you to the guy I just met on OfferUp that sold me my first Xbox, or something like that. And then, yeah, it showed up on my doorstep. So I started playing Infinite. And, man, I had to relearn everything. And my 8-year-old nephew helped me out a lot, actually. He's so good. He's so good at shooter games. So, yeah, that's my answer. First game I played in a long time.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
What was your experience like for becoming part of the Halo family now?
Wow, man. That was really interesting. A lot of people don't know, but, a lot of people said, so how did 343 come to you? That they didn't come to me, and they didn't know me. I auditioned for it just like anything else through an MP3 file from my home studio. And from that, they actually brought me into a casting office where I had to perform on camera, as if it was a on-camera audition. And they had somebody there to perform with me, somebody that I was playing off of. And so it was like a two-parter. I had to go in there and I had to perform on camera the scene, and then I had to perform on the microphone as well. And then months went by, and it was just kind of said and done. And one day, like 3 months later, 4 months later, I just asked my agent, like, hey, is that Halo Infinite game? It actually wasn't. I didn't know what it was. It just said, it was just a Halo game. It wasn't Infinite. That I didn't know at that point. I said, is that thing still, I'm going to check on that. And it was so funny because that same day that I happened to mention something and she happened to check, she's like, I'm going to call you right after work from my car to tell you what happened. And I was like, okay, well, I have to wait till then. It was weird. And then we had this long phone call. She's like, so there's a lot I have to tell you. You got hired for the part. I didn't know this was like one of the leads. Like she thought I was just reading, I was like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, great. So you're gonna have to go to Seattle and they're gonna do this and that. Next thing you know, it was just like crazy.
Wow.
I didn't know any of that was gonna happen. I didn't know I was gonna have to go to Seattle. I didn't know necessarily that I was gonna be doing motion capture. Because a lot of the time they're a little weird about if you haven't done a lot of motion capture, they'll hire somebody else to do it and you'll just do the voice or something, or if you don't fit the size, whatever. Right. There's a lot that goes into that stuff. So anyway, it was like, yeah, you're gonna go and you're gonna get a body scan, you're gonna get face scans, you're gonna go to Seattle, boo-doo-doo-doo. It just became crazy real fast. And so I was overwhelmed, man, I really was. It was my first time having to travel and do voiceover like that. Like Steve was saying earlier, they brought me into 343. They took me to every floor, and I'm seeing all these hundreds of people working all over the place. They brought me in like the toy department. They brought me in all these different divisions and introduced me to all these people. This is the pilot, man. This is gonna be the pilot. Yeah. There was already an action figure made. The game was even, crazy. And so all of that was crazy, man. And and then from there it was just like, all right, I just have to be at my best, I just have to be calm through all this. I just have to stay calm through all this to not blow it, Yeah. And
was the accent always part of the role when you auditioned? Was that part of the deal, or
it was? Yeah, it was. It said he was of a Hispanic background. They didn't know from where exactly, because obviously this is like in the year 2070. What is it? 2072?
I forget.
Yeah. But yeah, so my first audition, was with that same accent. And yeah, they sent it around. They told me, afterwards they sent my video audition that they filmed me, they sent it around to kind of everybody at 343 to kind of sign off on me or whatever. That's how they saw it, the pilot. And
cool.
Yeah, thank you for your time though. And by far, Echo 216 has become one of my favorite characters in Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm flattered. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for saying that, man.
Awesome.
What was your favorite scenes to act or voice act in?
I had a director who I would assume Paul Crocker.
Yeah.
Who I just loved the guy, and he was so nurturing to me, and he understood the character at least as well as I did, if not more.
Yeah.
And had an ability to communicate that. And we're doing this long distance, we had a couple of sessions together before, and then we had to do a long distance. But I just trusted him 100%. And that was just such a great benefit, when you have that kind of, because sometimes, and, without naming any names at all, but sometimes you get somebody who's just like, give me 3 in a row. Give me 3 in a row. Give me 3 in a row.
So true.
Okay. Non-announcery. I mean, it's just, you don't, I didn't have that kind of, something that was needed, and Paul gave it to me. So I really enjoyed working with him, and I think he did a fabulous job in his part in making Infinite.
I will amend my previous answer of Halo 4 and say that working with this guy.
Thanks, Bruce.
Geez,
Thanks,
I mean,
man.
like I alluded to before, I mean, he just does a lot of work, brings it 100%, and like he was saying, if he doesn't feel right about it, he'll dig and dig and dig until he does. And so we took the time to do that. The director was 100% on board with that, and we did it. And that was some of the. First of all, we were friends before we even got into this game.
Yeah.
And so then to be on stage together and to see him reach down and bring up the stuff that he did was just. I was so proud and so honored to be with him. So.
Oh man, thank you, Bruce.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. It's so uncomfortable taking compliments like that.
You want to come over here, Nick? You want to trade places? Need dogs.
No, but Bruce nailed it. That was it. That big scene that we did together. Bruce is bringing it the whole time, and he's giving me everything I have to respond to. And he's evoking those emotions. He's pulling them from the pilot character, as we're going. And he was down to do as many takes as I needed to. Like, it didn't matter, how many. He was never going like, let's get this thing over with, like, So that day was a revelatory day for me. It really was, with me not having done major motion capture work. It took all the theater roots that I had and brought them right back to the surface again. And Bruce hit the nail on the head. Like, the fact that we were friends going into that, it made everything that much more comfortable and easy. Man, when you're on these mocap stages, man, sometimes there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and a lot of eyes on you the whole time, staring you down. Think about it. If any of you guys had, people looking at you through a magnifying lens, and you're doing some emotional stuff, performances like that.
And you're on the clock. You've got a short time to do this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of money behind it, and it's like, there's a lot of pressure, different pressures from different angles, So the fact that Bruce was there just made it so much more easy. And
we held hands a lot.
Yeah.
And you're doing very emotional work in a clown suit.
Yeah,
for all intents and purposes.
In tights.
You're in tights with little balls all over you.
Yeah, right.
And Bruce has got this thing sticking up over his head, and this.
Let's tell that story real quick. Chief is 7.5 feet tall, as we all know, and so I'm a little bit taller than Nick in real life, but not the proportion we needed from pilot to chief. So, in order to get the eye line right, when the pilot's giving him shit, hey chief, come on, whatever. I can't do you, but so we developed a little system. We had a wooden dowel, 1/4-inch dowel, and we taped it on the top of a hat, actually, about up to here. Then we had a styrofoam ball on top of that wooden dowel with a little 2 eyes and a mouth painted on it. So every time he's acting, he can't look me in the eye. He has to look up at Chief way up here. And Nick, being so emotionally involved in all these scenes, he'd get so into it. And he'd, Chief, and I'd go. And he'd go, God damn it. We got to do it again.
He's right. And he worked me through that and was like, don't worry, man, we'll do it again. We'll do it again. Don't worry. Of course, Bruce is looking right into my eyes. His eyes are looking into my eyes, but I can't look into his. So when he's delivering his dialogue to me, he's looking at me, but I have to, it's tricky. Yeah. And these are little things you have to overcome on the set, and I eventually did. But Bruce was really good working with me on that because I know he was, there's probably 3 or 4 times where I screwed up, and Bruce would be like, you gotta look up here.
Look here, not here.
Yeah.
It goes against our nature.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed in Halo is the emotional impact that it has on us, the players. And one of the things that I've heard a little bit today, and I was hoping that you could expand upon, is how do you all as performers bring that emotion to the game and to your performances?
Well, I mean, that's just acting training that goes way back. I mean, that's what we're trained to do. Obviously, the more we're not given a whole, like Steve was saying earlier, we're not given a whole lot of information to begin with. So it's kind of get together and pick the brain of the director and the writers and actually what we did. No, it was Jen and I. Sorry, it was Jen and I that got together. One of the first weeks we were up there in Seattle. And we got Paul Crocker together with a couple of writers, and we sat them down and we said, come on, you got to spill the beans. We need to get the whole arc of the story here. Otherwise, we can't do what you're asking to do, is to fill in the reasons all these emotional events are taking place. And so once we got all of that, and it took a couple hours worth of storytelling for us to get. And I couldn't even repeat it to you because it's so detailed and involved with all the different aspects of the universe that they're in, literally and figuratively. But that's how we do it. We get as much information as we possibly can, and then you dig into your life experience and apply it where it's applicable to those situations.
For me, we'd get our scripts maybe 3-4 days in advance or something before we'd shoot for the motion capture stuff that we were doing, the performance capture. And I just studied it out of my lines, obviously. And so that when I arrived, I could, what we call playing, You all know that already. The lines are there. There's no question about that. Now it's just playing with it. So I would make sure, everybody's got their own method of memorization, but I would just do what I do to memorize the lines and then show up. And then for me, it was just repetition. Like the more times that we would do it, more things would unfold in the scene. And then the more the director would say like, oh, and on right here, here's where this needs to build or whatever the director says, It's like, okay, all right. So then we do it again, and then I discover that moment. And then we do another take, and I discover another little moment. And then finally, after X amount of takes, all of a sudden you're like, okay, now I see how the scene's unfolding. So for me, it's just like, yeah, as we go, more and more takes, like I'm understanding more.
Yeah, I really couldn't add much to both what Bruce and Nick said, but to what you said, which was the point of your question about how Halo seems to spark some sort of emotional reaction with the player, and to me, that's the genius of the writers, that they've created this story. Sometimes a story within a story within a story, but to cause a game to be not just a first-person shooter game with some cool graphics, but a game with characters who you care about. And I can't say for sure if that was a first in video game, but it was damn close to being the first one if it wasn't the first to have that kind of character development in a video game, and then to have it last 21 years is, pretty amazing.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the answer. Appreciate it.
Right on.
Thank you.
Came and saw you, what was it, January?
January.
I think it was, yeah. It never gets old hearing your voice, man. Like, it's so good.
My wife might disagree, but...
Speaking of, we just had my bachelor party where we did a Halo LAN party, Halo 2 LAN party.
Wow. Kicking it old school.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Fiance knows what I like. So, Bruce, it's incredible to see in person.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Awestruck. And Nick, thanks for making me cry like a baby. I hadn't finished Infinite when I met Steve the first time because I wanted to wait.
Yeah.
So I finished the game immediately following the con and just died inside. Like I just cried heavily. Like your performance was incredible. All of your performances were so good. Just thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's my piece.
Thank you.
Man, thank you.
It's very kind.
Thank you.
Thank you all, not only for coming, but for supporting this game and allowing us to have this much fun for over 20 years. Thank you.